Hi, I am Mari Garbarlo. We are in the first meeting of the Kokua Room with Pono and Nohea. We are here with Jackie Gibson. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm so excited because we're going to learn some things to help us be better prepared for storms and disasters.
Hi, Mari. Thank you so much for having me. I am Jackie Gibson. I am the owner of Jackie Gibson Insurance, LLC. I have been an insurance agent for 15 years now, and I specialize in auto and home insurance. So hopefully I can help answer some of your questions today. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. So, my very first question for you is what is the biggest misconception people have about their homeowners or renters insurance when a storm hits?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that it just covers everything, that it is a blanket policy that covers every weather event, wear and tear, every little thing that happens. And as much as that would be awesome, unfortunately, there are policy provisions, there are amendments. It is so important to look at your policy and see what it covers and make sure that it meets your needs specifically, especially depending on where you're located. Maybe you are more likely to have a certain weather event than another person in another area. So just making sure that you have all of your needs protected and talking with your agent or reading through your policy.
Yeah, we were just talking about it offline about how disasters have been hitting differently in different areas, just unexpected weather. Like here in Calvert County, we had two hailstorms,
Yeah.
some winds that came through. So we just want to see how we can better prepare for even the unexpected. So speaking of unexpected, is flood insurance included in most policies?
Yeah, so flood insurance is that special product. It is as far as I have seen, I have not come across yet a homeowner's policy that also includes flood insurance. So if it exists out there, it's possible, but to my knowledge, it is something you have to purchase separately. Most of the time, you would be purchasing that policy through FEMA directly. They have agents that write through FEMA. I do that. There's going to be a local agent in your area that can set you up with a policy through FEMA. There also might be some private insurers that do flood insurance still as well. But if that is something you are concerned about, even if you're not in a flood zone, think about your location, think about how your house has been affected by past weather events. It still may be something to think about having just in case.
Some of the sad things that we saw in North Carolina is that homes that had never experienced flooding before suddenly had their homes swept away by floods. So it's definitely something that people need to look into. If you all have questions about finding those maps, they have these government maps online where you can see if you're in a flood zone and see what level of risk your house is in. So speaking of hurricane season, and we're in it right now, it's June 1st, or actually it started June 1st, it's June 3rd. What can people do to get coverage in this flood or in this hurricane season? Can they still get coverage? What should they start with?
Yeah, they can absolutely still get coverage. The only time that you may see like a block on writing homeowners insurance or renters insurance would be if, and sometimes auto insurance, right? If they know a big storm, I mean, cars are affected by that too. It's not just homeowners insurance. They will sometimes put a block on writing new business until the storm passes. So, but that usually happens when it is declared that this storm is going to be hitting your area, and maybe it'll be like, okay, we can no longer write new business in this area until then. So it's always going to be proactive. Do not wait until you know a hurricane is coming to be like, okay, I need to get insurance, and change your coverages, change your deductibles. They usually put a stop to changing your policy, to adding anything, lowering your deductible. That stuff is usually like on pause until the storm does pass. And so if that is something you're concerned about, a lot of people, maybe they don't have a mortgage anymore, they're not required to have homeowners insurance, still make sure you insure your house and look into something that's affordable for you before the season comes.
So speaking to those people, the people that haven't, looked at their policy in years, what would you say is the first thing they should do today?
Yeah. So think about the last 5 years, right? And what has happened to cost of materials and prices. I mean, we all know they have gone up so much. I mean, if you want to get something, if we're just talking about homeowners insurance, if you're looking to get a renovation done, if you got a quote in 2020, it's probably double what it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have not looked at your policy since then, I highly suggest looking at your coverage for your home, your coverage for your personal property, because you're paying all this money every year. It's usually the most expensive thing you're paying for behind your mortgage. The worst thing is you pay all this money and you find out you're short by $200,000 if something really devastating happens. So make sure you do like we kind of call it here, like an inflation checkup. Like, okay, just because your house was worth 250, what's the cost to rebuild now? It could be 450, just making sure that you are properly insured and following up with your policy every so many years to, make sure it's correct.
And it's really not that much of a price difference adding that extra little bit of insurance on or coverage on, correct?
Yeah, it's not crazy. I mean, it would be worth it if you were $200,000 short. Yes, you would pay it in a heartbeat to make sure your house was properly insured.
So what do you wish every household had stored or printed before a claim ever gets processed?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm like, take your phone, get it on video mode, walk around your house, have it on your phone, do like an overview of some things that you have that are maybe specialty items. If you never have to use it, I mean, that's the best case scenario, right? But that's like something that would take 3 minutes to do, walk around your house, just have something on your phone, have pictures of some specialty pieces that you maybe have. That way it does help with the claim process if you kind of know what you have and can kind of prove what you have. If God forbid, if something happened where it was completely lost and you just could not explain how to replace certain things. Another thing that is great is a fireproof box in your house where you can keep any important documents. Car titles you need to make sure those are in a protected place, and other important documents as well. The last thing is do not keep cash in your house. I know that's a thing that, we talk, a lot of people are like, oh, they have been doing that more lately, but that is something not covered under your homeowner's insurance policy. So if you do something like that, making sure it's in a fireproof box, because a picture of a bunch of cash isn't going to probably help there, but so making sure that that those kind of things are in the places they're supposed to be, like a bank.
Okay. Makes sense. So not under my pillow or my bed. In a bank.
No, unfortunately not.
All right. So what kind of photos or documentation speeds it up? So yes, for the phone, but what else can I have? Like, let's say in a binder, that would be like, oh, I'm so glad you have this, that you brought this. This helps so much.
Yeah. If you ever replace any big things in your house, like a new roof, a new HVAC unit, anything would be considered a big ticket item, keep all those receipts. Sometimes it's really helpful to show like, hey, I just replaced this in, last year or whichever. And along with that, keep some photo. If you don't want to just rely on your phone, because what if something happens to your phone? In that fireproof box, you can also put photos of like specialty pieces. And when I say specialty pieces, I mean like your antique pieces, the pieces that you would have a really hard time coming up with a price. They're almost priceless to you. Keeping pictures of those things and just putting it in there and hoping you never have to need it.
So one of the other things that we recommend just for the emergency management side is taking those pictures and also having them on a thumb drive, sometimes two thumb drives, just kind of as backup pieces, and then copying those important documents and having them in a safe iCloud type.
Oh, that's a great idea. Well, that's true. If they're on your phone and your phone gets destroyed, it would be great if it was backed up to like Google Photos or something that you could access to make sure, it's not lost completely.
It seems redundant, but it actually is in such a good way, where you may say, oh, it'll take another 5-10 minutes of my time to do this. But at the other end of things, where I've seen people in disasters just lose everything and have no proof, they don't have any birth certificates, any, marriage certificates, anything like medical records, all of those things are lost. And they're like, man, I wish I had just made a copy. And, the time that you take now is so valuable when those things happen. So what are the few things people overlook when they're buying a policy?
People shop a lot on price, which is extremely important, but just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's protecting you correctly. And I think that people are so price driven, which absolutely get. Think about how expensive things are. Everyone is conscious about their budget right now and how much things are costing. So that's extremely important. But don't just look at your policy and base it off of price. Like, this policy is great because it's giving me a good deal. Is it covering you correctly? That's the biggest thing. And making sure that everything that you need is included in that policy. And if it's not included, okay, at least you're aware of that. Or if it's able to be purchased, you can, have that conversation as well. So really just making sure you're not just completely price driven, which that's hard to do when insurance is such a competitive market right now. Cheaper is not always better. Cheaper is good, but are you getting the right coverage for that?
So I've seen a lot of these smaller companies, almost like, I don't want to say no-name companies, come up online, and they are cheaper. And what are some of the things that you would caution against with using those companies that aren't as well known?
I think that the biggest worry that I personally have, and I think others should probably feel the same way, is that the homeowners insurance market is very volatile right now. The biggest thing you worry about is you are going to pay a company all this money and a major disaster is going to happen and they are going to go bankrupt and they will not have money to pay you whatever it is in your policy contract, or they have to find a way to pay you, whether it's through a different company or assistance or whichever. So that is always my mindset, is like, okay, if I'm going to be paying for something, I want to make sure that this company that I'm paying, that this is an agreement between us. I give you money and you're going to, protect me. I'm transferring my risks to you. Then they need to be able to hold up their end of the deal. So a financially strong company is always something that I think is extremely important. And I think it's going to be even more important in the next decade. It's already starting to happen. And I think you're going to see it a lot over the next decade.
And we've been seeing a lot of disasters just this year, no-name storms, things that have been coming up, which seems more frequent than it ever used to be. So what are some common mistakes that delay coverage or reimbursement with those that have their policies?
Yeah. And during the claim process, the biggest thing is, it is going to take some legwork on the customer, on you, to have to document all of your belongings, do an inventory, get in touch with someone to do rebuild. It does take legwork, and it is stressful. Like, it is stressful on the average consumer to do all of this. So getting in that mindset ahead of time, like, if something like this happened, like, it's going to be a lot of work on you too, as the consumer. The insurance company is always going to be there to help, but there is a lot of legwork to do on the policyholder side as well. Getting in that mindset, sometimes it can be a patience. If there is a major disaster, they usually work with the most severe first and kind of work their way down. So like, getting in that mindset ahead of time, like, okay, I'm prepared for this. I know what to do. I'm going to pack my patience. I'm going to start documenting things, reaching out to people to get ahead of the game. That way, when the process is started with the insurance company, I have all my ducks in a row. I think that is super important, to be able to kind of like start the process yourself and then let them, come in and, be the one that handles the money to everybody.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be wrapping things up. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your information. I think it's going to be really helpful because some of the things like I didn't know previously that flood insurance was provided by FEMA, and you go through the insurance agencies to get that. That's interesting for me. So that's a new thing I learned today. So I just want to thank you for your time.
Of course. Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So question for you. So if anybody who's watching this wants to get a hold of you, ask a couple more questions, how can they do so?
Yeah, so you can always go to my website, which is JackieGibsonInsurance.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram. You can always reach out to me that way. And, I am licensed in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. But if you obviously have questions outside of that, I can always point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Thanks again. We appreciate